Who doesn't love movies? If you don't love movies like we love movies, you're wrong. The sports ball people have their fantasy leagues, but what about us film nerds? The Fantasy Movie League was born. And each week, you choose 8 movies for our personal cineplexes and compete in leagues for the highest grossing box office total. Of course, each cineplex has to build their lineup within a budget, with each movie costing a certain amount. So, let the FML chatter begin! Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another epic week of Fantasy Movie League Chapter Week 3/4, 9 3/4, 75%. However you want to dignify that numbering, we thank you for thinking about it in that way. My name is Alex. He is Chris. We are back for another wonderful review and preview of the Fantasy Movie League here in summer season, Week 3 ending, Week 4 beginning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Happy Wednesday to you. Happy Hump Day. That's how we're recording this today on the Hump Day. Very weird Hump Day, if you will, because it's a Wednesday, but it's because something is happening today that should not be happening, but we don't make those decisions and we have to live with what it is. Stuff to talk about, things to discuss, and a few apologies to begin with and statements to make.
That's right.
If you happen to listen to our brother podcast, Spock and Solo, there was a bit of a tirade and a tangential rant, if you will, made by yours truly, in regards to the Ferengi alliance of the Star Trek universe, and to the Ferengi nationalists, Ferengi sympathists, and supportists, and again, the Ferengi alliance. I want to express my deepest apologies for my I don't think it was expletive-laden tirade against you, but it might have felt that way deep down in your hearts, and for that, I am sorry. Kind of. Anyway, so that I had to get it off my chest. I appreciate y'all letting me do that. We're going to move on from there, and apologies are expected from the Walt Disney Company. And why do you ask? Why is the Walt Disney Company needing an apology? Chris?
Again, it's related to Han and Spock and Solo, our show. The Han Solo movie coming out. We're really excited to learn more about Han.
Yes, the biopic. Oh wait, sorry, biopic. I'm gonna get this
I looked
right.
it up. Actually, I looked that up this weekend. My brother and sister, they say biopic, and they're like, "Oh, you were wrong, Chris. You were wrong. We were gonna comment on YouTube," and I'm like, no. So I go to Grammar Girl. She has a whole episode about biopic versus biopic.
Grammar Girl?
Yeah, Grammar Girl.
There's a thing?
Ming-Nong Fogarty at grammargirl.com.
I'm going to have to dig this out of the...
She does podcasts on, the strange grammar things in English that we don't
people have to listen
know.
to another podcast just to find out more?
Well, if you like to learn things about your language.
Killing time with podcasts is a good thing. So from the Lucasfilm, a.k.a. Walt Disney Company news desk, the Hollywood Reporter released last night that the directors signed on to do the Han Solo film. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are no longer directing the Han Solo Star Wars spinoff.
Gosh, was this so a shame because they made the Lego Batman movie, right?
They've done a lot of
so
fantastic work over the years, so it's really a shame that this has come to where it is. But yes, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, you may know them from such wonderful comedy and films such as The Lego Movie, Lego Batman, 21 and 22 Jump Street, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 1 and 2, and the upcoming Lego Ninjago movie, which we may eventually talk about at some point in the future, but that's not here nor there.
Also, Hollywood Rumors states that they might have had a meeting with DC about the Flash movie prior to leaving the Han Solo movie.
Oh, gossip. Anyway.
So leaving the excellent, pristine running machine of Disney and Marvel and Star Wars to go to DC doesn't seem like a good move, but
no,
whatever.
that seems sort of schoolyard mafia-ish, but I don't know. In a statement from Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm, quote, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are talented filmmakers who have assembled an incredible cast and crew, but it has become clear that we have had different creative visions on this film, and we have decided to part ways. a new director will be announced soon.
Now, Lord and what's the other guy?
Miller, Lord and Miller.
Lord and Miller. They said in a quote, we acknowledge that this is like a cliche, creative differences, but it's true. And so they're off on their merry way.
I don't get it.
And we're left with a film in production. They've been filming since January, I believe.
In London, no less.
And now, now they're directionless. What's going to happen? It's still slated to come out in 2018. But hopefully the integrity of the film is maintained and we get a good movie. If we get a good movie, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
But let's, shall we dive into
let's return
a recap of
Let's
last
get back
week?
to the nuts and bolts of what we do is looking at what's in the theaters now and what is coming out in the coming week ahead of us. So, looking back at week 3 and what we were able to assist you all with, I have to go out and apologize outright and say I was wrong. Let's go ahead and record that for the future, Chris, so that way people can remember that I have actually said this.
Well, your wife should get this little clip and play it on loop, right?
No, I never said she needs it. I just said that for the listener's sake, they need to just remember this and just send it back. I was wrong. So
we were all wrong in a way.
Well, you were the least wrong of the boat. The whole bunch of us in our lovely completing the shelf fan league. Chris in week 3, rising above the fodder and taking the victory with probably the collectively worst selection of movies we've ever done in a single week to create our weekend box office. My wife and I come out with the same list of movies: 1 Cars, 4 Guardians, 3 Everythings, wind up with a measly $75 million. The Enterprise's Cineplex had 1 Cars, 3 Guardians of the Galaxy, 1 Book of Henry, 2 Megan Levy's, and an Alien Covenant to gain $935,000. Whew. That would have been a bad loss for everyone if Chris won by $935 million, considering no one has gained over $300 million in box office for the season. Anywho, yeah, he beat us by just under $1 million, and no one's happy about it in the Salvo house. But that's not here nor there. We digress.
Like you said, since you invited me, y'all wanted me out.
No, that's not true. We love having you in the league. You make it more than just a he said, she said, and now I have someone else to voice my vengeful ire towards. Anyway, very happy to have you in the league. Please stay in the league. Don't ever leave us.
And you know what? We want you all to join our league too.
Yes,
we're not gonna go down a breakdown on everyone's place every week.
No,
but
we will simply go and cover what's coming out, what's going ahead, and how we all hate Chris. So it's more.
I guess next week we'll start with another apology.
Yeah. Well, anyway, week 3, just to recap, and here's strangeness right now because my cousin Rachel fell 6 spots down to 17th. For her second week in the theaters. Somehow gained screens. I don't know.
8 screens.
Gained 8 screens. Don't know where the 8 lost or came from. But I'm not the one to do the mathematicians there. Everything fell 8 spots to 18th from 10. Diary of a Wimpy Kid plummeting as well, as did Boss Baby. We knew those were gone. Somehow Beauty and the Beast is still in theaters, and it made $275,000. Again, don't know how, don't know where. It may be one of those types of theaters where they're like, hey, we've got $3 movies from 40 years ago or 10 weeks ago. You pick. That might be the type of theater that it's currently showing.
Beauty and the Beast has been out 14 weeks. It's still going.
I know. It lasts longer than some Kardashian marriages. Moving on, Alien Covenant 16th. Now, we're going to talk about this one because I don't know what's going on, but it's just now available for us to pick, and it's not a new release. Jumping up 9 spots from 24th to 15th was Beatrice at Dinner. Now, I'm not exactly a wise and sage-like fellow, but if you jump up 395% in your box office weekend gross from one weekend to another, and you're only in 77 theaters. How on earth is this happening?
What's amazing though, it says it added 72 theaters this
It,
past weekend. So it was on five theaters.
it was in 5 theaters around the world. They're like, oh, it's Selma Hayek and John Lithgow? Okay, you could have more screens. And maybe it's getting more and more. It's a Sundance Film Festival selection. We'll talk more about it because it's the first chance we get to pick it coming up. We didn't talk about Paris Can Wait. We'll ignore that. We'll move on. They finished at 14.
They can wait even longer.
Yeah, good enough. Book of Henry, 13th position, $1.4 million for the Not So Kid movie, 579 screens. We kind of predicted that was your My Cousin Rachel of the week.
Very disappointing.
It helped you win. How could it be disappointing? Stop it.
I know, but I thought it would do a little better.
We didn't want it to. Baywatch falls 5 spots to number 12, down 65%, $1.6 million. Megan Levy down 3 spots to 11, $2.5 million a weekend. It Comes at Night down 4 spots, 2.6. That is starting to fade quicker than we expected.
I'm still sore about that one.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, down only 20%, $5 million on the weekend. But it lost about a third of its screens, down to only 1,800 theaters worldwide. Or not worldwide, excuse me, domestically, United States, Canada, all those nice places. Captain Underpants, big fall, big fall there, and it doesn't completely surprise us, down from number 3 to number 8, the biggest single week drop we have seen so far in the summer season. It lost about 41% in box office, $7.1 million if you chose it. It only lost 561 theaters, if you will, so that's okay. Rough Night, bad debut.
It was a rough night.
That's where I went wrong. And again, to our listeners, I apologize. I thought this would do better. The critics and the fans have all agreed it is a rough night if you went to see it. $8 million in weekend gross.
It's not gonna make that $20 million budget.
It's
gonna be
will
rough.
have to sit in the theaters for a very long time just to cover it, and Sony might.
What
have
do you
to.
predict? How much is it gonna drop in income?
I would be shocked if it gets over $4.5 million this week.
I agree.
But I think there's reason for it to sit somewhere between like 4.75 and 5 million.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of movies that came out over the weekend, and folks had a lot of things to choose from. This weekend, I don't think they do per se.
We'll talk about the big opener this weekend. It's controversial.
Dead Men Tell No Tales, Pirates of the Caribbean, down 2 spots to 8.9 million, only a 16% drop. That was
This is the surprising. This is surprising.
right, and I think when we made mention of it in the pod, I think we kind of gave it a over under somewhere around 7. So to get that close to 9, again, Samsonite. I was way off. Down 920 theaters, 2,760 some odd theaters.
Still not going to make its budget of $230 million.
No, but
at 150.
for players last week who were faithfully choosing that on 7 screens, you were rewarded by having a perfect Cineplex alongside Wonder Woman. But all in all, I wouldn't have told you to pick 7 Pirates of the Caribbean and 1 Wonder Woman. I just don't strategically think like that. For the 396 of you in the world that did, kudos, bravo. We'll ask you to come on the podcast next week to give us your insight and crazy mindset of how you do your wackiness. I can't see Pirates staying above this $8 million threshold. I would imagine now I sound correct in saying it will hit 7.5 or less. Would you agree?
Yeah, but I think it looks like it's having a soft drop week to week now.
Which is nice for the
Like, it's just
studio to at
settling
least
in.
hedge their losses, if you will. I mean,
Sure.
between how much the budget was for Guardians and how much the budget was for Pirates, and how much more
Guardians was what, 200 million?
Guardians was 200, Pirates was 230, but for the studio itself, the 174 million that they've made domestically on Guardians versus the 80 million that they've so far lost on Pirates, they're like, okay, whatever.
Well, we don't have the data right here in front of us. At least I don't about the global gross income for Pirates. They probably made their budget back
They've
there.
done very well in the foreign markets. You want to know how good they're doing internationally?
Hmm.
They've made $500 million in foreign markets.
Okay. I don't feel bad for Johnny Depp.
Nope. It's worldwide 652 million overall.
He can afford the little the earbud that he has in his ear with someone reading his lines, so he doesn't have to memorize his lines.
No one knows. Nobody can, no, don't. No, he's a hero. He is an icon. Don't do that to the man. He's a good person. We don't need that kind of heat on us. We don't need that kind of bad attention. We would like to be I mean, I know I made the Ferengi rant, but we need to go up to a higher level now. We need to be the better man.
Oh, so you can rant. You can attack aliens, but I can attack Johnny Depp, which is basically an alien.
Johnny Depp's a real human. He's a person. He has children. He has friends. I don't know that Ferengi have children or friends.
Moving on to the next one. This is 47 meters down.
47 meters down. This was a shocker. I predicted Rough Night was going to do what 47 meters down did. I was wrong. $11.2 million. They are very happy over in the 47 meters down camp.
Although we don't know what the budget is.
And this was also, yes, the volunteer budget again. Very good. 2,270 theaters. I think that was kind of below the estimate that we had for the previous weekend, if I'm trying to remember. But regardless, I'm sure they're very happy with how it came out. Again, I think the Mandy Moore helming of the actressness, I think that helped it a lot because she's been doing so well on This Is Us. I think that just kind of carried over for that. That's really all I have to say about that. Dropping 2 spots to number 4 was The Mummy, 14.5 million, over half of its original weekend gross from the opening weekend gone. I continue to see that this is going to trend in that same direction. I don't know if it's going to have that Pirates-like slow failing death. I think it's going to hit harder and harder as we continue.
I mean, the critical reviews and the talk online is just, this is not good.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to have such a slow burn. And meanwhile, no one's really talking about Pirates at all, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're just kind of
it's just there
about Pirates. It's there. What's also there is at number 3, the debut of All Eyes on Me, the Tupac Shakur biopic. $26.4 million. And I feel like if you went all in on this one, you did come up short, but you've got to be happy if you are a fan of the film and a fan of Tupac to see it do so well.
The people
there is a bit of critical backlash against it, though. I do have to say
the people that knew Tupac or were involved in this kind of world say the film misrepresents a lot of his story. So I was disappointed to hear that.
Mrs. Will Smith's not happy about it. She made known that there was some shenanigans, if you will, involved. But yeah, debuting opening weekend, 26.4 million. Percentage drop. Are we thinking this is going to go to like 11 to 12, or could it stay above 15?
I think I'll do like 14.
14. I might have to agree. Because The Mummy kind of debuted higher, fell to that 14 level, but it wasn't. I think it's kind of received in the same vein as All Eyes on Me from the critic side. So I think that could drop it a little.
But there's probably
harder.
still some people
Woman.
in the audience that haven't heard the critics, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. I want to see Tupac."
Yeah, man.
Yo.
Doug's Mansion. That was a Tupac reference, everyone. Thank you for recognizing. Anyway, dropping 1 spot off of her impenetrable perch is Wonder Woman. Down 29.5% to $41.26 million.
Now, I believe someone was right.
Yes.
Predicting the over-under here.
You were.
I think I said 40 million.
Pat yourself on the back. There you go.
I am currently doing so.
Okay, that's enough. That's a little vigorous for my liking.
I found a knot.
And number one, which is unsurprising, but the amount of money it made was surprising. Cars 3 did debut at number one, 53.6 million, well below what I thought it could have done. And
Whoa, yeah, a
and I
lot below.
think it's somewhat fatigue of the franchise in general, and people just don't understand why it needed to be done. And that kind of goes into our famous category of why. What was the purpose? What did you need to do? But the vehicle for Cars for Disney is always merchandise. It's never really been the performance of the movie itself. It's always the cars itself. Lightning McQueen and his merry band of automotive friends that help kind of push the merch number and needle for the mouse.
You know, I was reading this interview with one of the creators of Cars, and he was talking about how we'll never see inside the car, right? All the cars have, door handles, but there's no humans. So who's opening the doors? But if you open up that door, it's their eyeballs and their brain and stuff, he said. Yeah. So he doesn't want to creep the kids out. But this one podcast was theorizing how this is a post-apocalyptic world where the humans been overthrown by technology and smart cars, and that's why there's still handles.
I know.
Anyway, Cars 3. I'd watch the movie that that theory subscribes to, but no one's watching these movies now, or not as many as people used to be.
Correct. So would we all agree the biggest surprise of the weekend was 47 Meters Down premiering at double digits? Or the lack of money coming into Cars 3? What would be the biggest surprise?
I think the biggest surprise is My Cousin Rachel inside the top 20. I'm just kidding. I think it's Cars 3 not doing very well at all. This should be its like week 2 performance.
And we should hope that it kind of stays steady because it's getting further and further with more and more schools across the country kind of getting out for the summer now. Today officially being that first day of summer as well. Congratulations to everyone for making it this far into 2017.
And it's my parents' anniversary.
Yay! So yes, the summer solstice was celebrated this morning, 12:24 a.m. In the northern hemisphere. Everyone else in the southern hemisphere, too bad. So, with that being said, we will now switch gears and now look ahead to week 4. So this week is rather interesting. Our dear friend and friend of the pod, Michael Bay. He's
kidding. A friend of the podcast?
I'm just kidding. We've never.
Do our podcasts explode?
We've never met Michael Bay. We don't know him. I'm just creating an illusion, folks. And he's creating an illusion that we need another Transformers movie.
We need 17. He's planned 17 more.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Please tell me that's not real.
No, he's mapped out 17 more of these films. I guess he's gone all in, and he's just like, whatever. I make a lot of money.
I mean,
he's a Ferengi filmmaker.
No, that's not true.
In it just for profit.
Yeah, all right. In that regard, maybe he is the 5th highest grossing director by worldwide box office ever.
Really?
$5.7 billion. I don't know how much of that is part of his established net worth. He's behind names such as Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, James Cameron, and can you name the man in 4th? That is our trivia question for the day. Can you name the man in 4th place on the list of highest grossing directors in worldwide box office gross?
Wait, name the top 3 again.
What's that?
What was the top 3 again?
Top 3. Again, we'll reiterate the top 3. Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, James Cameron, blank for number 4. That's where you're supposed to fill it in.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michael Bay at 5.
Interesting.
Also, members of the top 10 include Gore Verbinski, Chris Columbus, Tim Burton, Robert Zemeckis, and Christopher Nolan, who will add on to his worth possibly later this year. But that's not here.
George Lucas? Is George Lucas?
George Lucas is not in the top 10.
That's good.
4 of the top 10 currently have films that are playing in theaters around the world as we speak. And Michael Bay is adding to that list this week with Transformers: Age of Extinction.
And if only the Transformer franchise would enter an age of extinction.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Last Night. Transformers: The Last Night. Pause, rewind, scrub all that out. new movie coming out for Michael Bay this week is Transformers: The Last Knight.
Yes.
Not Age of. So that is the most current release in the Transformers series of films. And here's an interesting fun fact about the debut. Michael Bay really is ushering in the summer by releasing the movie today, Wednesday, not a Friday release. I don't know how that's going to affect us in the Fantasy Movie League world. No word from the bigwigs at FML as to whether or not the Wednesday and Thursday will count towards your weekend gross. And I'm surprised in a way that it is going to be somewhat unpredictable as to how it will fare the remaining part of the weekend, because most folks who are smart and are big nerds like ourselves, they will want to rush out tonight, or they rushed out last night, if you will, to go and see the first showings of this film. I have not been... Well, I don't know if I've been smart or dumb not to go and see any of the Transformers movies. It's not that I don't like the Transformers. Let's go ahead and stop right there. Because at one point in my life, I was a big fan of the Transformers animated series. However, as I've aged, I've understood that time and place of having Transformers in the spotlight has come and gone. I don't know why it needs to continue. I don't want CGI blowing through all these movies and making them sort of as big as they're trying to be.
They're incomprehensible. The action is frenetic, and the CGI, the way the Transformers are created, all these individual parts, it's so difficult to distinguish who's who when there's just metal bashing against each other.
Right. I know Mark Wahlberg's now involved, which, of course, he needs more money. So we have to help the Mark Wahlberg Benevolence Fund and help him continue on. Josh Duhamel is still involved. And now Sir Anthony Hopkins has to get involved with this to save the world.
Stay in Asgard, Anthony Hopkins.
No,
stay in Asgard.
No, you need to do one better. Stay back in your jail cell with your mask on, Hannibal Lecter. This is just strange. I don't understand. I mean, maybe he needs more retirement fund money. I don't know.
Well, okay, let's look at Transformers Age of Extinction,
yes, big words.
Well, I'm gonna go to Grammar Girl for my word problems. No, it opened 100 million weekend last
time.
What was it? Last time in 2014.
But when did it come out? What was it, on a Wednesday or was it on a regular Friday?
It was. That's a good question.
Because in my opinion, I understand you want to go ahead and bring in the summer movie season with a big summer blockbuster a la Transformers.
Sure.
But for all, let's just call it Transformers 5, for lack of better words, because this is now the 5th movie in the series.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 3 years since we've had one, and I think
the world was okay.
And the world has been okay the last 3 years. So I don't know if we truly need it. This is now 10 years of Transformer films we've had to live with. Starting with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox. They lasted 2 movies together, and then Rosie Huntington-Whiteley came in. Still Shia LaBeouf was there. And then finally they're like, oh, we don't like Shia no more. We'll just go to Mark Wahlberg and Stanley Tucci. Okay, cool.
And we have Transformers 6 coming out June 8th, 2018.
No!
And 7, June 28th, 2019.
Oh, no.
Already slated.
Oh, I'm thrilled. Just trying to bottle it in, you know. The movies are lost on me, and I see too many people with the Decepticon or the Autobots logo, and everyone who went out to buy the Bumblebee Camaro back in the day. They're like, yeah, man, Transformers is back. I'm like,
well, and there's gonna be a Bumblebee offshoot prequel movie.
Well, it's about time. I mean, they've been milking it for 11 years. I don't know why I had to wait this long. Anyway.
The Transformers franchise, I mean, it's born out of Hasbro. You know,
yes.
It's just basically a commercial for toys. But you know what? They used to mean something.
It did.
So as these movies continue, it's just empty popcorn fare that will not endure the test of time.
I'd rather
But whatever.
if I'm gonna go watch a movie about cars, I'm gonna go watch Cars 3. I'm gonna be entertained by that. I'm gonna get probably nauseous and dizzy watching Transformers because that's like the kind of old man I've become and decrepit in my old age.
I'm going to go back to the late 90s, early CGI animated series Beast Wars Transformers. That's my Transformers.
Oh, there you go.
And that's the good stuff there.
And as I think, as our good friend Forrest Gump would say, and that's all I have to say about that. It's going to be released.
Except I have a lot to say about it because my brother and I did an earlier episode on Completing the Shelf. Just
Yes,
on
you
Beast
did.
Wars.
Make sure you peek into Christopher and Thomas's riveting speech and discussion in regards to Transformers. Being released today on 3,900 screens. Knowing what the previous Transformers movie has done, and being that we're only counting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, what would you say for Transformers Age of Extinction is your current estimate on no, not Age of Extinction. I'm sorry. I keep saying that. Holy crap, The Last Night.
Because you want this franchise to become extinct.
Yes, thank you. Transformers The Last Night. For opening weekend. Over under 66.5 million.
Over.
Yeah.
I'm going between 85 and 90.
I mean, I think that's right because it's never been even with the first one that came out in 2007, it came out at 70 when it was the first iteration of it.
Yep.
But this one's not coming out on 4,000 plus theaters. This is falling short. And again, you're going to have it start on a Wednesday, not on a Friday, like the last four have statistically done over summer. I know the first one came out on July the 3rd. That happened to be a Tuesday that year because it was trying to get in before the 4th of July. It's giving itself 2 weeks in advance of the 4th of July this time.
Well, because Spider-Man's going to dominate that time period, so I had to. Yeah, this is tough because of the Wednesday opening, but I don't think people are rushing out to the theaters on Wednesday. Maybe Thursday night. But
I don't know. I mean, the PG-13 rating is going to help get the teenagers and the millennials in there maybe earlier who are maybe just out of college and whatnot. Opening weekend for that Age of Extinction movie did do 100 million, but it did come out, in fairness, on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I would like to hope that for the first full week of its existence, it does get to that triple digits in the nine figures for
I think
for the studio.
None of these movies have opened below 70. So why don't we do over under 75?
But again, that 2007 level, that's 10 years pre-inflation. That's the very end of what was that was like before the recession really began. And then through the midst of the recession, it still did fairly well. 108 million for Revenge of the Fallen, 97.8 for Dark of the Moon, and then the most recent film, you'd expect it to kind of be above that. It never got above Revenge of the Fallen for its opening weekend. I think for the full 7 days from Wednesday of this week till Wednesday of next week, it will do that. But for the sake of the game, our particular 3 days that we need to focus on for the screens, I don't know if it's going to hit that 70 million over the weekend. I think it's going to fall short because there's going to be enough folks rushing to see it tonight or even tomorrow night to try to get out there and see it before everyone else.
Or, maybe we should consider that people, because of the economy, are saving their movie money for
Spider-Man.
the particular picks that they want to see. Spider-Man, Wonder Woman.
Spider-Man.
What else is big coming out this summer? It's those two, right?
I feel like the rest of the way,
left.
that's really it. I'm excited next week. There's a movie that's coming out next week that we will have to touch on then.
Is that Dunkirk?
No, that's not coming out for a while, unfortunately.
Okay.
I
think that's going to do well.
That's going to be like mid to late July, from what I remember.
Okay.
Before that week, though, it's going to be War of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay, that'll do well.
The end of the July
That's a big one.
4th week is when Spider-Man Homecoming is released. Despicable Me 3 and the Will Ferrell, Amy Poehler comedy The House is opening the weekend of the 30th. And another strange Wednesday release next week, Baby Driver, which has an
Terrible
all-star
title,
cast.
but looks like a hilarious movie.
Yeah. Again, all-star cast.
Directed by Edgar Wright, I believe.
Yes, Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, World's End, and Hot
Developed
Fuzz.
Ant-Man, but then left.
I know, but Edgar
Another
Wright,
Disney Marvel movie that directors leave halfway through.
I know. Anyway, not here nor there, but yeah, that's what's looking forward. So coming out this weekend, as we mentioned, is going to be Transformers, the last night. I got it right this time.
Yay! At least
Yes.
you're right about something.
Finally. About time they start earning my keep around here with something I do right. So Transformers, the last night, $560 a screen, taking over half of your budget just by choosing it. Wonder Woman, $286 million. No, not $286 million a screen. You couldn't afford it. $286 per screen. Cars 3, $278. All Eyes on Me, $104. The Mummy, $73. Pirates, $58. 47 Meters Down, $55. Captain Underpants, $45. Rough Night, $39. And we'll cover these two new movies in a moment that are adding on. Tube Light is a premiere. That is $34 a screen. Guardians at $32. Beatrice, $17. Megan Levy, $16. Comes at night, $13. And Book of Henry, $11. So Beatrice at Dinner, as we mentioned, going from 5 screens to 77 theaters, is now going to be more widely released. I don't know if it's going to jump into triple digits. Woohoo! But $17 a screen. Again, Sundance Film official selection there. Salma Hayek, John Lithgow. Do you have your 2 cents on Beatrice at Dinner? Because you have to film. I know nothing.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and great performances by Salma Hayek and John Lithgow. But on the screen, it flashed the first great film in the age of Trump. And I'm like, oh, okay.
What does that even mean?
Well, from what I can tell from the film, Salma Hayek plays Beatrice, who's an immigrant from Mexico.
Oh, it's political.
Yeah, and she goes to a dinner party at this rich, swanky house, and John Lithgow is an arrogant, hotel runner. He runs all these hotels, and he's super rich, and thinks that she's the help, serving wine, but no. And so it's this clash of the rich and the immigrant. Has some interesting things to say. He talks about, I think one of the major themes is it's easier to destroy something than to heal, and she's a healer. She massages people and puts stones on their back and blah, blah, blah.
But why do we have to make John Lithgow the antagonist? He's such a good person. He's such a great actor. Well, that's probably why he's a great actor. Duh.
Yeah, he's good at it.
Duh.
But I don't know if I'm interested in seeing this because it's probably just pandering this message out there that, which white people are terrible to the immigrant. Whatever, that's true in some cases, but I don't need them film about it. Hopefully it does well, though. It looks well made. It's called a comedy, so it's an hour and 23 minutes.
Correct. It was released on June 9th in the United States, June 16th in Canada, January 23rd back at Sundance Film Festival, so it's just now making wider
rated
pushing. R. Yes, pirate rated. Very good. You see what I did there? Anyway, so far, $921,000 in box office. Again, it is climbing and climbing fast. It will not knock off Transformers, unfortunately, but I can dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Rotten Tomatoes, based on 35 reviews, 77% approval rating. Not quite certified fresh, but pretty high. That's pretty good. Generally favorable reviews on the Metacritic. As we mentioned, Transformers is coming out. And lastly but not least is Tube Light.
Yeah, a Bollywood movie. And the trailer that I watched was not in English, so I'm gonna have to go off the summary on Google. So Tube Light is an entertaining family drama set in a small town in the hills of northern India. And it tells the story of one man's love for his family and his unshakable belief in himself. and it's a heartwarming story. This summary doesn't talk about the war scenes. I saw some pretty cool war scenes in there, but a lot of dancing that you usually find in Bollywood films, and fun, happiness, people jumping off of cliffs into water, and it looks like it's a feel good fun movie.
Yeah, dance numbers and singing and
Oh yeah,
auto tune and
I've had several Indian students who sit me down and say, "Look at this film, look at this movie, it's so awesome." But they it's their whole kind of genre that I've never really experienced. So if you like that kind of thing or want to see something heartwarming and fun, Tube Light is the light you want to shine on yourself in the theater.
because I feel what happens with these movies, and I'm not saying these movies in the sense that they are bad or not good or just they do tease in a way to provide maybe bigger than expected box office successes. And I think the problem with that is twofold. One, you're going to see it at your local Cineplex in your town near you more and more in maybe urban areas because there are populations of the country that in certain areas have a sizable Indian American population or South Asian population that do flock to these movies.
Sure.
So they're going to have multiple showtimes per day, but nothing to the multi-screen, multi-time effect that something like a Transformers, a Cars, is ever going to have. So it's nice to be included on the list, but for instance of being successful in the game, I don't know if it's going to always play out to be well. There have been times in the past where it has earned bonus performer type accolades, and the extra 2 million a screen is never a bad thing, but that's so tough to try to predict, especially with little to no knowledge for firsthand of that, and especially with it's not going to be out on a ton of screens, I don't think. So I think that's its biggest enemy.
What do you think? Over under 5 million?
Oh God, no.
Too much?
I
2 million? Not even that?
I'll be nice and say 2.5.
Okay. I'll join you, and we'll both be wrong next week, I'm sure.
I mean, the poster just looks silly. He's wearing boots around his neck. You're supposed to wear boots on your feet. But what do I know?
Are you criticizing another culture?
No, I'm just judging his intelligence by not wearing his boots on his feet. And what do you want me to do? I don't know anything. That might be a very culturally strong symbol. And again, more apologies to be released later for insensitive sayings and stupid things, but I digress. Of course, big movie coming out this weekend, as we mentioned, Transformers, The Last Knight. We have almost all of what was available last week to us. What is going to be your selections here in week 4, Chris?
Well, this is another tricky one like last week.
Tricky.
Tricky because, I wanted to choose Cars last week because I knew it was the opening, so you kind of got to go with that. But I also really wanted Wonder Woman. I knew she was still going to, be a strong contender at the theater. But I didn't go with her. And that was a mistake. I should have just went with her.
You
Even though
still
Cars made
won.
more. But I know. But I could have won by more. Anyway, this week, I think you have to go with Transformers, even though I don't want to support that. But that's not what this is about. It's not about voting for the movie you want to do well. It's about what will do well. And Transformers has that track record. I think it at least gets to that $70 million mark, even though it's opening on Wednesday.
Okay, so that's one of your 8 screens. What are you filling in on the other 7 possibly to kind of balance that out?
This is hard.
Because I feel like for me it's a multiples play just to kind of continue a steady stream of income. No, a steady stream of income.
I'm going to go with Wonder Woman for sure,
Okay.
my number 2 slot. And then maybe a Pirates because, if they cut in half, they're still going to, make 4 million?
Yeah.
And all the other movies on here are going to go below that or, around that. So,
But if you choose those 3, you've got to fill 5 screens. You've got about maybe $100 left. That's not even. you're gonna probably have to fill a lot of Beatrice, a lot of Megan Levy, and you could try to throw in some Guardians just to
Well,
kind of hedge.
let's see. I'm gonna try a Guardians, and then I have 4 spots, maybe another
You have
Guardians.
to go for Megan Levy's and just that's a $0
Uh,
full thousand.
I can't
That's
do Megan Levy. She's not performing. She's just not doing it. I think I gotta go with It Comes at Night. I don't want to, but I think that's all I have left.
hmm.
Because I think It Comes at Night did better than. Is gonna continue doing better than Book of Henry. That's just gonna die away and become useless. Let's see what else. Let me pull up numbers so I know what I'm talking about. Book Henry, is not gonna make over $1 million next week. It barely made $1 million this week. Right, Megan Levy, it's gonna cut in half at least. It's at 25 million, 2.5 million this week. It's gonna drop to below 2. It Comes at Night is at 2.6 million, and that'll have a drop too, but maybe a little bit more than Megan Levy. It'll bring in a little bit more. I don't know. This is hard. I want Megan Levy to do better than It Comes at Night, but
I
it's
agree.
it's
I will
keeping the Wonder
personally.
Woman in plus the opening debut of Transformers. That's what's killing me. But you, sir, let's hear your wisdom.
Um, I'm taking two Wonder Womans. I would rather have two Wonder Womans than anything to do with Transformers, and this has nothing to do with personal biases. I really don't feel like the Wednesday release is going to make a strong weekend number for Transformers. So that's my hedge. I'm going
Okay.
to take the two Wonder Womans that value wise could probably make it, I feel like by doing that, and if I hit 30 million with Wonder Woman, I feel like I'm not losing a heck of a lot for my overall value in the budget by choosing two of those.
Sure.
There was another part of my strategy that said to myself, do two of those and then be like the brilliant minds do and just pick pirates the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because part of my game plan for the longest time was to use every waking dollar I had imaginable and run off that success. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the smart move with that many pirates being chosen. Um, at 58 a screen, if I take even three Wonder Womans, like I'm not getting a lot of pirates value. If I'm taking two Wonder Womans, maybe I can extend the pirates value out a little bit more. But I think now that we have Transformers coming out, it could be a death knell to the value of pirates. It's not going to stay above 7 or 6 million. Probably it's going to drop
Yeah,
even more.
you're right. I think Pirates and Transformers kind of tickle the same uh, funny
I think it's the
bone.
same fan base in some ways in
Yeah.
terms of the folks that have.
Mindless popcorn movie.
Yeah, in some ways, summer blockbuster. You call it mindless popcorn. I call it summer blockbuster, which is what.
Well, but like Wonder Woman and Guardians, they're not mindless. They actually have things to say, and
In
they're
a
also
way,
blockbusters. But
I
anyway,
mean, yeah. I mean, the undying message of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume Two is "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." But I'm not sure that's something that will culturally be able to
the
stop.
message is about the meaning of life and the meaning of and our desire to know why we are here. What's our purpose for life? It goes
Yeah,
deeper. I felt like I was watching an original series Star Trek episode, just with better
really,
production value.
really. Star Trek, you had to make a reference to.
Oh, there's gonna be a video coming up on the channel where I make this argument later.
Fine. Um, so I'm still on the fence as to whether I want to do. I'm probably gonna stick with my two Wonder Womans. I'm thinking to go for two All Eyes on Me. Still get whatever juice I can out of that orange.
Okay.
And then just fill Captain Underpants, cause I feel like I feel like that's the best opportunity to kind of hedge against things. I know it had a rough fall down to
Yeah,
7 million.
but you have to put something in those lower spots.
Yeah,
So
and I feel like that's the best way for me to do that more than something like Rough Night or 47 meters down. I don't know if 47 meters is going to have another double digit week. It probably will have the same number as Captain Underpants did, 7 million. That's what I'm kind of aiming at for 47 meters down this week. So,
you I might put in a Beatrice at dinner. with that big giant jump.
Oh, Selma Hayek.
It might hit that political crowd in the cities.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Cool.
I don't know. My list is not stable right now. I think I'm going to be playing with this until 9 a.m. on Friday.
And I think that's unfortunate because I'm glad you don't have to lock everyone in today, because of course deadline Friday noon Eastern time. Eastern Daylight Time.
And we could benefit from the early data about Wednesday and Thursday performance of Transformers.
That will certainly help us out just a bit.
And this comes out. This episode will probably be out Thursday-ish. So make sure right now, pause the podcast, or while you're listening, pull up that information from Box Office Mojo.
BoxOfficeMojo.com. That is BOX. No, I don't need to spell that out. BoxOfficeMojo.com.
Biopic. No,
that's not it. Anyway, Chris, any last thoughts for us as we wrap up week 3 and look ahead at week 4?
I just can't wait for Spider-Man to come out. So I'm waiting for that week.
Here I am thinking you were about to say, "Oh, I just can't wait to be king." I'm like, really?
Well, I'm not really excited about the live-action Lion King.
Yeah.
Because why is it live action if it's all going to be animated
CGI.
Animals? Yeah. Unless they're going to have actual animals in there at times and have CGI mouths or something on them. I don't know. But, the director, his name escapes me right now. I trust him. He makes good movies. He made the first 2 Iron Man. Well,
Jon Favreau.
That one. He made Elf, one of the best movies of all time for the holidays.
This is true. He's been doing very well in the director's chair. He's still a decent actor.
Yeah.
He still appears in a handful of flicks. His most
and
recent.
He'll be in Spider-Man Homecoming.
In front of the screen. Yes, he will be there. His most recent in front of the screen works include Chef, which I loved. Go see it if you have not done
It's
that.
on Netflix. It's on my list.
There's so many things on my Netflix list.
I know. Including you got to watch Captain Fantastic.
Yes, that is fantastic, for lack of better words. And this is a funny thing I was going to mention. I think we should make a brand new segment here on the Fantasy Movie League Chatter, and this is just kind of fodder at the end, if you will, of things that are out on Netflix that should not be there. I think there was one of them, like it was a Steven Seagal movie that I'm just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the thought process on any Steven Seagal movie per se. I don't know.
We had a segment on the original Completing the Shelf where every week we would end with a weekly recommend, with something that you're watching or reading or you're really into this week that you want people to enjoy. And would you like to participate in that, sir?
I feel like that's something I'd be happy to assist us with. Something we can watch this week.
Something you've been watching or reading.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for the listeners? A podcast, an app, a movie, a TV show?
So
I know you have some shameful shows you're watching with your wife.
Oh, no, that's all her. She's watching Shameless, the Showtime dramedy comedy series. I feel it's more comedy than dramedy, but it's rather not graphic, if you will, but it's rather I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just out there, man. It's out there. If anything, I don't know. Listen to a podcast that I listen to, spoken by a good friend of the pod. No, he's not a good friend of the pod. I don't know why I keep saying that. You're right. It's just
you're inflating our importance.
Yes, making ourselves feel more important. The Mike Rowe podcast, known as The Way I Heard It, is a very brief, short pod. He reads stories about somewhat famous peoples and or things of history that he reads and just talks about very eloquently, and he has a very soothing voice. If you ever heard Mike Rowe talk, I could listen to Mike Rowe talk about anything. Of course, you may know Mike Rowe from his show Dirtiest Jobs on the Discovery Channel. So check out The Way I Heard It, available free to download through your podcast provider. The episodes rarely go beyond like 12 or 13 minutes. So it's something you can quickly do on like downtime, coffee break time, just so you can go ahead and enjoy. Oh, oh my gosh. I have to apologize to our listening public. If they can hear the Lawnmower Man in the background, not the movie The Lawnmower Man, but literally there's a man on a lawnmower outside taking care of the landscaping around
I don't think they would hear the man, but the lawnmower.
Yeah, the residential complex. I do apologize. Of course, I'm not going to tell you to go watch the Lawnmower Man movie from 1992. I'll tell you to go read the Stephen King book, The Lawnmower Man. That's a little bit more probably fun to do. But yes, go listen to The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe. And if not that, the Nerdist podcast. It's always quality listening with Chris Hardwick speaking to people from the nerd world and other interesting comedic things that he enjoys.
Okay. My weekly recommend, I think I'm going to go along your route and recommend another podcast. This is LeVar Burton Reads. It's out in its second week. Just came out a couple days ago. Where LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow and Star Trek The Next Generation and Roots, where he just reads a short story to you.
Wow.
And then he talks about why it's awesome. And, you know, we us 90s kids, we grew up with him reading to us. And
yes, the Reading Rainbow.
This throws you back into it.
For sure.
He often chooses science fiction because that's his preferred genre. You know, he's an actual Star Trek fan. Like, he was thrilled to get on Star Trek when he
that would be
show.
like sort of like pat on the back, like I'm doing something with my life. This is awesome. That'd be very cool to have that happen and be such a fan of it. So before we finish, I would like to go ahead and help. Well, maybe I should save the trivia answer for next week. Should I save the trivia answer for next week? Let's tease them for next week. Again, we're asking you for the number 4th highest grossing director of all time based on worldwide total box office. Again, we're asking you for the number 4. We've already mentioned the top 5, who include Michael Bay, James Cameron, Peter Jackson, Steven Spielberg. If you can name number 4, you'll get a special shout-out on our podcast. Anyway, for Chris, I am Alex. We ask you to please silence your cell phones and please watch your children. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll see you at the movies.
No, it should be silence your cell phones and your children.